alternating. Here I go, face my fears, again they investigating. Hello, love bugs. That's never gonna catch on, is it? Okay, so I have a new idea, and this is the introduction to the new idea, and hopefully it won't end up in a pile with all of my previous ideas that I always end up scrapping and trying to find the new formula. So here we go. Here's the formula. I feel like, well, multiple things are one of the reasons. Look at me. I can't even talk. No wonder this channel won't ever take off. Okay, so here's the problem. I hate what everything has become. The marketing, the brainwashing, the greed, the distorted philosophies, the confusion, the fucking upside down, back asswards way everything is going, how everyone is struggling and confused and anxious and depressed, and the planet is like crumbling beneath us. Not the planet's gonna be fine. Our species is destroying its own terrarium, and I feel powerless to help people even though I really want to. So one of the things I have sort of avoided doing is really just kind of telling my life story, because I feel like it's irrelevant, and I just wanted to be this channel that information could come through. Unfortunately, in this day and age, the information that is coming through is already so diluted and dilapidated and taken apart and destroyed and dismantled and regarbled in a beautiful, lovely package of marketing, brainwashed, ready to be consumed, little chunks of nonsense. And so everyone is even more and more confused. And when people who do have truth and good things to share, like, come on and try to do something, get it out there, it's just like shouting in the wind. No one can even hear you anymore. It's just like the whole world has just become an enormous den of iniquity, with everyone arguing and no one ever like caring or really having true compassion for human beings. And I really feel like the only thing that is going to save us is if we do become compassionate, loving beings, and we don't have much time left to do this. And the first step in that is accepting yourself for who you are and learning to love yourself. Forgive yourself first, and then you become capable of forgiving and loving others. So I decided I want to go ahead and start telling the story of my life, which many things about it will probably surprise people who've been watching me for a long time. Maybe not, I don't know. I wrote a book, some people bought it and read it, so I know my story's out there a little bit, but not that much. I didn't sell very many copies. It's still available on Amazon. It's called Why We Die and How We Can Stop by me, Crystal Hutchins. But anyway, I'm going to start telling even more of my story, the details of my story, and I feel like it's just like, for some reason, I don't know if I'm too boring or if my personality just isn't what people are looking for, whatever it is, I don't know. I love the like 50 people that have stuck with me all these years, but I want to help more people. And it's not mine to judge either. Like, I think about this all the time, because if I feel moved to share, I don't think, well, it's not worth it because there's only 25 people watching. I think I don't have all the details, so I don't know who those 25 people are or who they are going to affect. all I have is my piece of the puzzle to share. But anyway, I've had an inspiration which I've been thinking about for at least a couple weeks, maybe a month now, and that is that I need a sidekick. And who better to join me than my son's dad, who actually is much better at delivering humor than me and has just as much of an open mind and psychedelic experience as I have had. And also, you know, his childhood wasn't that great, just like mine. So we both struggled. Of course, we found each other and connected deeply and had a child, and then went our separate ways because of multitude of reasons, one of which was I became a vegan, and he didn't ever want other people in his house. And after a while, it was just like, okay, this isn't even my house, so I'm gonna have to, if I want to make the life that I want to make, I'm gonna have to get my own place. And we even stayed together for a while after that, without living together, because we did love each other. It just, we couldn't live together. So that's why it ended. It was perfect and appropriate, just like everything is, because the way you can gauge that something is supposed to be happening is because it is happening. You can argue with reality, but reality wins every time. So anyway, over the years, we've both had many, many other experiences and relationships. The one thing that has always kept us at least trying to work together is our amazing son that we had together. So smart, so sensitive, so talented, just the most beautiful being, struggling in this world like all of us. And I feel like, you know, I hate to say this, but I do feel like a failure as a parent all the time. But at the same time, I think, well, that's how I'm supposed to feel, I guess, or I wouldn't feel like that. But, like, daily, I think there's so much more I could be doing or better I could be doing. But at the end of the day, my son came here to have his own experience, and I don't have all the information, and I can't live his life for him or make all of his choices for him. So I can only be here to support the choices that he makes to the best of my ability without judgment. And I spend way too much time judging myself, let alone other people, to try and imagine why I should do things differently than I'm doing. So I watch myself as the watcher, you know, like the watcher of the thoughts. The thoughts aren't us. That's not who we really are. Who we really are at our core is just pure love. And if everyone realized that, the world would be a very, very different place, like almost overnight. But what the world needs is some kind of spontaneous awakening. I really don't know how that happens. That's one of the mysteries of the universe. But I fully believe that each of us is on our own path, and the awakening happens exactly when it's supposed to. So as much as we look around this world and think, God, this is fucking awful. Why is it like this? I mean, it's clear why it's like this. It's because people have turned away from love and the love of God, and they've turned to greed and materialism. And for most people, it's not really their fault. They're brainwashed by the system to believe that this is what brings happiness. I'm here to tell you it's not. I've manifested most of the things that I've wanted to have in my life, and they don't bring the happiness that you think that they will. Things don't. the only thing that brings me pure, unchallenged joy that I can truly say is being in nature and seeing the way that God works, and also doing things for other people. Like, sometimes I just go take food to homeless people, and in those moments, I feel like my heart chakra just flies open, and I can experience God in that other person and in myself. And now, more recently, part of me thinks that maybe we just came here to experience what it's like when a whole society destroys itself. And so that we could have this memory, because the planet is gonna be fine. We're like, at this point, we're like an infectious disease that she's gonna have to shake off, Mother Earth, and kind of rebuild. But there is a small remaining amount of hope inside my heart that we're gonna fucking get it together. And, like, if I can be a part of helping people to wake up and see what's real and important, which, again, I can just restate over and over, but you're only gonna know it's true when you feel it within yourself. And that is that love is the only thing that will save us. Learning to love ourselves and then loving others will be able to transmute the problem at hand, which is greed and fear-based thinking. And that's what's running our society, is greed. And this whole desire to manifest your dream life, it's a waste. It's like all everybody is running after right now is, being a famous influencer or a famous anything, so that they can have this dream life of the mansion and the cars and the girls or the husband or whatever your little fantasy about reality is. I assure you, it's total nonsense. And maybe you did come here to prove to yourself that you can manifest a dream life. But everyone talking about how woke they are and how powerful manifesting they are and all this shit, it's like, if you were woke, you would realize none of this shit matters. That's why it's so hard for me to even be on this planet anymore, because even the terminology woke just makes me cringe. It's just a brainwashed marketing attempt, and I'm so tired of the marketing. And I know I've been saying that. That's all I talk about anymore, but it's because it's just become the bane of my existence. There's just nothing left besides this din of echoing, Mama, my marketing, I'm woke, vegan, raw vegan, yoga, manifesting, law of attraction. It's a fucking garbage. It's nonsense. It's like, it's just churning out like other people's little, basically every person who has achieved what you would think of as success is just projecting a false image. And that's what's really wrong, is that everyone is trying to seek after this thing that's not even true or real. It's just the ego, and the ego is just there left over from the fight or flight instinct that's within us so strongly, so that we don't, cause our own demise, and so that the human species will thrive. But it's false. It's all false. The only thing that we are is a presence of love, created by a presence of love, in order to experience love. And we come here to this like hard, matter, like reality, where, things appear to be solid, and it's really just a little dream playground, a game. It's a place to play a game where you can pretend to be powerless for a while and pretend to be separated from God for a while. And once your time's up, you just pop out of the body and it's like waking up. Anyway, that's what I believe, or also I try to not believe anything, I think. But lately I've been watching tons and tons of near-death experience stories, and some of them may be fake or false, but some of them I can tell are genuine. For one example, Trisha Barker, whose book I just finished, Angels in the OR, very good book, but mostly it's been an inspiration for me to watch these videos to remember that we are just playing this game, and that this isn't who we are, and that all the hatefulness and lies and greed and corruption and sorrow and confusion and depression and anxiety and sadness and even death, it's just pretend. And it is disheartening, though, when you are truly aware of what we are, this core of us, not the body, and that we're missing out on such a huge opportunity to have amazing, fantastic experiences in this beautiful playground. The game. The game could be so different if we were all loving ourselves and each other and creating just fantastic experiences for all of us. That's what we're supposed to be doing. That's what we were designed to do. Somehow we got off track. I don't know, I want to delve too deeply at this moment into the reasons why. But basically what it boils down to is I want to help people reconnect with this understanding of what we are. And so I'm going to bring in my sidekick, my ex-boyfriend who I had my son with. I have a son and a daughter. My daughter's turning 18 this summer and she's already moved out of state. She's doing great. Love her. Beautiful, talented, another amazing being in this world who came here to bring joy and happiness to people and is lost trying to figure out how to do that. So I would like to hopefully help people who are starting to wake up remember who they are. Now at the same time, I'm going to be completely open and honest with you guys, because like I said, I only have a shimmering of hope for the fact that we could even turn this around. And part of me thinks that we're just here to watch the last few years of a crumbling society and go through that experience and then have that in our recent memory so that we can start over as something new and be like, oh yeah, shit, we don't want to do that again. That was stupid. So that might be the way it goes. Either way, I want to be here to give something inspirational and to give love and hope and forgiveness back to people who are open to receive it. So with that, I'm gonna just tell you, I go back and forth between being highly functional and health-seeking with a lot of hope to being, I don't want to say depressed because I don't feel depressed, but I do feel extremely disheartened and lacking ambition and motivation completely, because like I said, I'm kind of leaning towards we're not getting our heaven on earth in this, period of time. It's actually going to end instead, and we're going to have to start over and try again. But because of that, I have not been as much on the I still, okay, look. I've been trying to solve chronic pain my whole life. I fucked up my own body. It's my own fault. I did a lot of stupid shit before I was aware. I grew up surviving, Chef Boyardee in a can and Cocoa Pebbles for breakfast. Like, there was no nutrition in my life. And also because I was empathic and aware of other people's feelings all around me, and growing up in my dad and stepmom's horrible excuse for a marriage, and just being plummeted? What am I trying to say? No. That's not the word I want. Just being pounded with, extreme emotional turmoil from every angle in my life. My mom was a drug addict. My dad was a functional alcoholic. My stepmom was a workaholic. I had a stepsister. We didn't get along in the beginning. And my early life was just traumatic. I wrote about a lot of these things, but I was molested as a child. I grew up as I inherited the genes of extraordinarily sexual people. So I was experimenting with sex and its connection to love at a really young age. And so I was an exile in my young community of school, like junior high and high school. I was labeled just garbage. And when people decide that you're garbage, they let you know by talking about you right in front of you, behind your back, so to speak. And that was my introduction to society. And I'm going to get deeper into this. I'm just giving the beginning preamble to this. This is the introduction to the X-Files. Me and my ex are going to get together and talk about life. When I approached him with the idea, I don't know how to say it. It's just everyone has a podcast lately, but I don't listen to podcasts, but I watch them when they get put on YouTube. So the people who film themselves making podcasts and then put them on YouTube, I watch those. And so I told him I wanted to do a podcast that was video only. and this will tell you how old we are. He said, I would love to have a talk show. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to stop rambling now because I know this is getting long and I know how people lose interest, but we're going to try to do an episode a week. And I'm not sure if I'm going to cut up each episode and spread it out through the week, or if I'm going to give you one episode every week, but I expect us to have great conversations that will be of some inspiration to people, that will also help many people feel less alone about their own traumatic childhoods and their own experiences, and give people hope for healing. But, like I said, I have gone back and forth in my whole life dealing with chronic pain between trying to be as healthy as possible and just trying to cover that up. I've gone off and on of opiates so many times, it's sad. But the last time I went through withdrawal from Kratom, I was like, I'm never going to let this happen again. I'm going to be so much smarter. If I ever use Kratom again, it's going to be for emergencies only. And this pisses me off so bad that people are, try to diminish the consequences of using something like kratom by saying that people who say it's habit forming or can form a dependency, it's all in their head, or they're full of shit, or they're the reason that the FDA is trying to crack down on it. Okay, look, I don't want anything in this world to be illegal. I think everyone should have access to whatever they want if they want to kill themselves on it. If you want to snort up your house like my parents did and end up in a one-room cabin in the middle of nowhere because, die from cancer on your deathbed, lose everything you've acquired in your life because you snorted it up your nose, that should be fine for you to do. You should be allowed to die of drug addiction. You should be allowed to die of cancer. You should be allowed to use anything you want to while you're here having this experience. I'm not a person saying that things like kratom should be illegal, but I am a person saying that the truth should be out there, and the truth is kratom is, for 100% my experience, is definitely an opiate. It's not even a question. And on kratom, even though it is like much less consequences than taking Oxycontin or heroin, yes, it's cheaper, it's not as it doesn't have as much of a high, so you're not like really knocking yourself out of commission. And factually, I get more pain relief on kratom than I do on taking a high class narcotic. But people should be aware while making these choices that kratom is highly addictive. And in fact, this week I thought I was going to be sharing with you guys my withdrawal story and how I successfully withdrew from kratom again. But in fact, I wasn't able to make it through a day of withdrawal, even with the supportive medication that has previously helped me get off it in the past. So I'm currently completely dependent on kratom. That means when I wake up in the morning, I'm in extraordinary pain, because now not only am I covering up the pain, but also your brain is firing off like, get that drug, because that's where we get our endorphins from, so we need it, so create more pain in the body. And also it slows your liver down and your digestive system, so that now your kidneys aren't functioning as well, and getting rid of the uric acid, so you have gout symptoms. And this is what happens when you get old and you're trying to cover up pain instead of heal yourself. So I'm just to be honest with you guys and let you know that that's where I'm at in my life currently. Unfortunately, another side effect of kratom is that since everything is slowed down, your digestive system, your liver, your kidneys, everything is functioning slower, so you get constipated, and your body cannot effectively detoxify itself. Like, what was it, like 10 years ago when I was doing YouTube videos about the raw food diet and trying to explain to everyone how powerful it is to clean up your body, and so you can connect with your own intuition and God and the angels and everything. I had such great experiences, but like I said, just over time, it gets hard to not want to put a band-aid on the symptoms when the way to heal yourself and detoxify your body and connect back in to your life is really the much harder path. But if we do want the world to change, we are going to have to heal ourselves and stop putting band-aids on our problems. The reason I just went through all this is because it's likely that during the X-Files talk show we're about to start doing, you will see consumption of alcohol, possibly marijuana. As you know, we live in Alaska. It's legal here. I'm not the hugest fan of marijuana, but I experiment with it at times for mostly for thinking purposes because it doesn't help my pain. In fact, to some degree, it tends to intensify my pain. And that's just the thing. Like, people who say kratom isn't addictive, you're so fucking lucky. That's great. Good for you. It doesn't cause addiction in your body. But for some people, a lot of people, and I think, in fact, most people, it does create dependency. People also don't think marijuana is addictive and that it's like this healing gift from the universe. But honestly, it is addictive. It's very addictive. I remember there were times when I had formed a marijuana habit. Not currently. I currently, maybe because we have these cool marijuana stores everywhere, I like to experiment a little here and there. So I keep a vaping pen and I take about a half a hit on the weekends, and it helps me reconnect in a thinking way, but also creates some paranoia. That's why it's not my drug of choice. The other thing about opiates is that for some people, it's only creating drowsiness and pain issues where, like, solving pain, and sometimes not even solving pain, but making people nauseous, and they don't understand why anyone would do it. But for some of us, those of us who get addicted to opiates, our brain works differently, and it creates energy, and it solves literally every problem that you have: emotional, psychological, and physical. So the only thing it impacts negatively is your health and your spiritual connection. Two very, very important things, in my opinion. I just wanted to prepare you ahead of time for the fact that during the X-Files shows, you're probably going to, hear honest and open communication about using band-aids to cover up our issues instead of solving our issues, which I really think is the solution to changing this world, which is returning to love again, just full circle, loving yourself enough to heal yourself, even though it's so fucking hard. I know how hard it is. I've come off opiates, hardcore withdrawal, like somewhere between 3 and 5 times. I know 3 extreme awful ones, and then a couple of ones that for whatever reason I wasn't as dependent and it was much easier. But currently I don't know when in my life I'm going to be able to make the time and space to do that. I also, to be completely 100% honest with you guys, I don't really care about being alive anymore. And that's not coming from a depressed or suicidal point of view. It's coming from someone who's completely exhausted with playing this game that I can completely see through. I've almost understand fully and have just become bored, and because unless we're all gonna start healing and changing the world and fucking turning this place into heaven like it's supposed to be, and cleaning up the mess we've made within ourselves and our societies and the environment, then I don't really care anymore. I'd rather just go back to God, because I really, really miss the true feeling of love that I haven't found here on Earth with humans. But at the same time, I think we do come here to learn how to love, to have experiences that increase our ability to love, so that when we do go back to God, we can hopefully give Him some modicum of the love that we're given by Him. And for that reason, I'm just ready to go at any time. So I'm no longer afraid to die. And sadly, I know this is going to sound lame, but I don't really care that much about my health anymore. I really just want to successfully get through the day and the things that I have to do so that I can provide a lifestyle to my liking for my son so that he doesn't have to struggle like I did when I was a kid, to the best of my ability. And I'm not trying to lengthen out my life any longer now that I think we probably have about 12 or so years left on the planet, if you're paying attention to global warming. These and many other spiritual topics are some of the things we're going to cover in the X-Files. My ex is an extremely intelligent and talented Indigo. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about just all sorts of hopefully inspiring and interesting topics that will help add to the ability for more people to wake up or even just get through their day until we finally reach the last breath of this ridiculous society that we've created. For whatever reason we've created it, it's what we're experiencing. I'm also aware, because I've experienced it, that you can create and experience your own heaven on earth, but it's not like you want to go, it's not like going up. How do I want to phrase this? If you think you're enlightened because you feel so connected to God and the world and spirit and one with everything, when you're hiking on a mountain, go spend an hour with your family and see how enlightened you feel. That's the problem, is we didn't come here to go be enlightened by ourselves. We came here to somehow work together to create something. And what the collective conscience is currently still calling for, at least the majority of what is happening in the world, is easily understood by looking at the President of the United States of America. That tells you the average median intelligence level of our current state. Or it may not just be about intelligence, but about the apathetic state of humanity, because to be standing by allowing this to happen, allowing this man to run rampant, in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter. Like, there's God's laws and then there's man's laws, and man's laws are extremely pathetic when you compare them up to the laws of the universe. Or like I like to say, laws are just suggestions. But the true laws of the spirit and humanity in general are, if you don't love yourself and others, you're gonna experience pain, and that's why we're all fucking miserable. And because so many people are choosing that, the majority is choosing it, and we had hoped that by this time, by coming here, by holding the vision, that we would be changing it. And trust me, I do see massive awakening in consciousness from when I was a child, an empathic, intuitive child, aware of the mysteriousness of this universe and in awe of it, to having my body numbed out, dumbed down by chemicals and additives and eating non-foods because it wasn't my choice. That was what I had. That's what I was given, and that's what I was told. I was told to eat animals. I was told, that these things are correct. And I was ridiculed for speaking my truth, so I stopped speaking. And for all of these reasons combined, my thyroid stopped working. And God, it is like what they say about challenges and how we learn from them. I would not know nearly what I understand and experience. I wouldn't have like a modicum of the level of awareness that I have if I hadn't lost my thyroid. That's a topic for 15 more videos. I also wrote about that in my book. But the thyroid is controlled by the pituitary gland. And the pituitary gland is what opens when you take LSD. So if you happen to be a kid whose thyroid got destroyed by radioactive iodide, because that was the current medical ideology of the time, you find out that by not taking the replacement hormone that you're required to take because your body doesn't make it, you can go into a full, but this is what I believe they call manic, is when the thyroid is out of alignment, and so the pituitary gland, trying to communicate with the thyroid to work, opens more and more and lets out more and more pituitary hormone. It's what they call a brain imbalance, but I believe it's the same as what would happen if you were gradually opening your pituitary to reach the state of enlightenment, which is what people kind of get a little tapped into when they take something like LSD or mushrooms or ayahuasca or ibogaine, all these things that create psychedelic experiences. They give you a glimpse into what enlightenment would be if you purposefully did it yourself by reaching up higher into consciousness and opening. The pituitary just slowly opens. That's what the experience of enlightenment is, I think. And that's why we're in the state that we're experiencing, because our pituitaries are closed and our pineal glands are calcified. So our brains are not functioning. Oh yeah, don't forget to let me talk about Wim Hof and the other huge problem of that we aren't breathing deeply enough to have our brain work correctly. So, gosh, I need to stop rambling because I don't think anyone's still watching this, but these are some of the topics that we're going to cover, and I hope that you will come along with us on this journey. X-Files, Episode 1, coming soon to a YouTube channel near you. Subscribe, motherfucker!